Police assured the governor that the command would not relent in maintaining professionalism in synergy with other security agencies. She also urged residents of the state to remain calm and go about their lawful businesses as the police will do all within its power to ensure their safety.
We want to police with a human face, be professional, and make sure that our visibility policing, everybody is involved, synergize with all the other sister agencies, community policing. We're enjoying every citizen. Go about your lawful business. Provided you're law abiding, you don't have any problem with law enforcement agencies.
Mrs. Onodekon is the first female commissioner of police in Oyo State. This is News Around the World on Pensioners 106.7 FM. Let's now talk some pension and labor stories. The Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities, NASU, have declared an indefinite strike beginning from the 5th of February. Announcing the decision in Abuja, the spokesperson of the Joint Action Committee of SANU and NASU, Pius, explained that the federal government has reneged on their October 2020 agreement, where all parties agreed to address the issues leading to the strike. The striking non-teaching staff are demanding that their members be taken off the government's integrated personal payroll information system, as well as review the sharing formula for the university's earned allowances between the teaching and non-teaching staff of universities. In Denmark, Danish pension fund divulged it ramped up its investment risk level over the course of last year, despite holding off heavy buying when shares bottomed in March, and is now in a position to nudge risk still higher. The pension fund said comprehensive work had created more scope for risk-taking, while announcing a return of 6.65% in 2020 for its balanced portfolio. Chief Information Officer of Copenhagen-based Danish pension fund, Kare Michelsen, said their in-depth work with risk management has also meant that they raised their risk level during the year. In Australia, pension showed resilience by recovering from a minus 10% at the time of the equity market downturn in the first quarter of 2020 to positive returns of 2.55% at the end of the year. Last year's performance remains below the 11.63% generated in 2019, but above a minus 5.14% in 2018, despite the crisis by the COVID-19 pandemic. Average returns over a 30-year period stood at 5.3% per year, including 2020. The 8th Australian pension fund managed assets worth 25.17 billion euros for over 995,000 insured at the end of 2020. You are still on to News Around the World on Pensioners 106.7 FM. Now to other stories. The United Nations UN envoy on sexual violence in conflict, Ms. Pramila Patten, says serious allegations of sexual violence are being reported in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region, including a high number of alleged rape cases in the city of Mekelle. Government forces seized control of Mekelle, the regional capital, on the 28th of November 2020 after several weeks of fighting. The U.S. envoy, Ms. Pramila Patten, said there was also increasing report of sexual violence against women and girls in a number of refugee camps. She called on those parties involved in the hostilities to commit to a zero-tolerance policy for crimes of sexual violence. The second impeachment trial of Donald Trump will begin next month under an agreement reached between Senate Democrats and Republicans. House of Representatives Democrats will send the charge of inciting insurrection to the Senate on Monday, but arguments will not begin until the week of 8th of February, allowing Trump's lawyer 2 weeks to build a defense. Democrats accuse the ex-president of instigating the deadly 6th of January riot at the United States Capitol Hill. Meanwhile, United States President Joe Biden has apologized after some members of the National Guard stationed at the Capitol were pictured sleeping in a car park. More than 25,000 troops were deployed to Washington, D.C. for its inauguration after violence earlier this month. Images spread showing them forced to rest in a nearby parking garage after lawmakers returned. The condition sparked anger among politicians, and some state governors recalled troops over the controversy. In another development, senior doctors are calling on England's chief medical officer, Professor Chris Whitty, to cut the gap between the first and second doses of the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccines. Health officials across the United Kingdom extended the maximum wait from 3 to 12 weeks to get the first jab to more people. But in a letter, the British Medical Association said the current plan was difficult to justify and should be changed to 6 weeks. Meanwhile, Professor Whitty said extending the gap was a public health decision. A second coronavirus vaccine manufacturer has warned of supply issues to the European Union (EU), compounding frustration in the bloc. AstraZeneca said a production problem meant the number of initial doses available would be lower than expected. The fresh blow comes after some nations' inoculation programs were slowed due to a cut in deliveries of the Pfizer BioNTech vaccines. The EU Health Commissioner, Stella Kyriakides, expressed deep dissatisfaction at the news, but officials have not confirmed publicly how big the shortfalls will be. This is News Around the World on Pensioners 106.7 FM. We'll be back with entertainment and sports stories. American comedian Dave Chappelle has tested positive for the dreaded COVID-19. According to reports, Chappelle has not yet experienced any symptoms and is under quarantine. The COVID-19 diagnosis caused Chappelle to cancel his remaining 4 shows in Austin, Texas, 2 of which were to include Joe Rogan. And in the world of sport, Neymar Jr. has made his 100th appearance for Paris Saint-Germain on Friday and marked the occasion with a goal in a 4-0 routing of 10-man Montpellier that took Mauricio Pochettino's men clear at the top of Ligue 1. Kylian Mbappe scored twice, and Mauricio Icardi was also on target, with PSG leading 1-0 before netting 3 times in the space of 4 minutes around the hour mark. The game, played behind closed doors at the Parc des Princes, was conditioned by the early sending off of Montpellier's goalkeeper Jonas Omlin for a foul on Mbappe as PSG made the most of their extra man. It was their 4th straight win since drawing at Saint Etienne in Pochettino's first match in charge after the Argentine was appointed as coach on the 2nd of February. And to end news around the world on Pensioners 106.7 FM, here is a recap of the top stories. A former United States ambassador to Nigeria, John Campbell, and some other prominent persons have said cases of human rights abuses in Nigeria can hamper the partnership between Nigeria and the United States under Joe Biden's administration. United Nations envoy on sexual violence in conflict, Ms. Paramila Patten, has said serious allegations of sexual violence are being reported in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region. The second impeachment trial of Donald Trump will begin next month under an agreement reached between Senate and Democrats, both Republicans. And in sport, Neymar Jr. made his 100th appearance for Paris Saint-Germain on Friday and marked the occasion with a goal in a 4-0 routing of 10-man Montpellier. The news editor is Olarisayo Oweye. My name is Pius Nsabe. Thanks for listening.